Welcome to the Legacy All-Stars podcast. We feature inspirational stories from people who dedicate themselves to helping others. Here is your host, Alan Pavlosky.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Legacy All-Stars podcast. Today's episode is a little longer than normal, so we've split it into two episodes. You'll be able to find the second edition of this episode as part 2 on legacyallstarspodcast.com, on YouTube, or on your favorite podcast platform. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Legacy All-Stars podcast. This episode, I got to tell you, is super special to me. This podcast was created to establish a platform to feature inspirational people that have committed themselves to helping others. The first person I thought of on this show to feature is Joby Branion. He's my guest today. I'm uniquely qualified on this because Joby and I have been friends, first and foremost, for about 25 years on a personal and professional level. I have personally been the beneficiary of his generosity and kindness, and I'm uniquely qualified to say that he is one of the most genuine people you will ever meet or have the benefit of meeting. Joby is the founder and CEO of Vanguard Sports Group. He is renowned for his holistic approach to athlete representation, emphasizing not only professional success, but also personal development and community impact. That description of his commitment to his clients' best interest can't possibly be communicated in a bio. I've personally seen it firsthand. He is the real deal. Welcome to the show, my friend. It's good to see you.
It's great to be here. I appreciate that incredible introduction. And not enough emphasis on the relationship we've had and how long and thorough it has been. It's rare that you get relationships sort of later in life, like not in high school or college, that end up being, some of the most important ones in your life. And I consider you a very, very close and dear friend of me and my whole family. So thank you.
Yeah, as do I, and as does my whole family, as you know. So thank you for being here. I want to start the show by playing a clip of your client, Von Miller, a Super Bowl MVP and future Hall of Famer, no doubt, talking about you and your firm. Let's listen to and see the clip.
How instrumental has Joby Branion been throughout your career?
Joby, my agent, bro, we've dealt with so many different things, on and off the football field. And, he's, shout out Joby. Joby's a great agent. And, of course they have, different agents that fit different players. And, Joby is a great fit for me. He was a great fit for me when I was 21 years old. He's a great fit for me when I'm 33 years old. So many different things that I've had to overcome on and off the football field, from injury to, to all different types of things. And he's helped me with that. He's been like my uncle. My uncle, he's always given me great advice. It might not have always been the advice that I wanted to hear, but he's given me he's given me the right advice for me. And I trust him. Obviously, I trust him with my career. I trust him with everything, and I'm just blessed and appreciative to have, an agent and be represented by Vanguard Sports. I really appreciate those guys. Thank you.
So how does it make you feel to hear that perspective from a client?
Well, again, knowing Vaughn as well as I do for as long as I have, and I met him when he was a junior at Texas A&M, and that's a whole different animal. But to see where he is sort of today, and then to hear him, one of the things that's interesting is when we go about the business of representing these athletes, the people, right? It becomes part of who we are, and they're like an extension of our family. And it's just so rare to have a client, completely unscripted, off the cuff, be asked a question, and then have that truly authentic answer from him. And what he said just validated everything that we're striving to do, which is we want to make a difference in these young, and they're all young. I mean, Vaughn at this point is 35 now, but he's still young. To make an impact in their lives and to hear them respond in a way that's so appreciative and, again, genuine. The thing that resonated the most for me, it wasn't so much him talking about me per se, because it's really about what I've tried to build here at Vanguard. And everyone that is a part of Vanguard, I think, should take pride in hearing what Vaughn said. And that is that he said, he doesn't always tell me what I want to hear. They don't always tell me what I want to hear. They tell me the truth. They tell me what I need to hear. They give me the best advice for me. And, being the father of 3 boys who are now 17, 19, and 21, who listen to me about half of the time.
That makes
I
me feel
just
old, by the way.
right? But I understand the value
Oh.
of having people be real and authentic with them. Don't tell my kid what he wants to hear. Tell him what he needs to hear while he's still young enough to course correct, while he's still young enough to modify his behavior, right? If you keep telling him that everything is great and he's the most wonderful thing in the world, growth stops, right? And, I learned many, many years ago, and it was reinforced by the women's basketball coach at Duke who posted something, and I put it on one of my social media platforms, where her whole point was, life is hard. And it gets harder as you get older. It never gets easier, right? And so if you're looking for it to suddenly get easy, that's not what happens. As you get older, it gets harder. And the question is, can you learn how to handle hard? And a big part of our mantra, which is exactly the same stuff I tell my own children, is life is difficult. It's not fair. Things are going to happen. They're going to be completely outside of your control. The lesson there is it's crazy not to control the things you can control, because life's going to be hard anyway. Don't make it harder. And then along those lines, what's the single most important thing you control? Well, I tell this to my own kids. The single most important thing you can control is who you choose to surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with good people who truly care about you, and from a professional standpoint, who are qualified to do the jobs they've been brought in to do, well, you've increased your likelihood of success, but just as importantly, you've limited the likelihood of failing. So that hopefully the inevitable curves that life will throw at you, the inevitable obstacles, will only be speed bumps and not derailing events. And sadly, in this business that I've chosen, and now I'm in my going into 30 years, I think, of representing professional athletes, I've learned that inevitably the careers end and life goes on, and it's crazy not to prepare yourself for the inevitability of the end of the playing career. And along the way, to learn as much as you can to help position you so that you can live life on your terms when you stop being a professional athlete. Because it comes for all of us, everybody. Whether you're a Hall of Famer or only play for 2 or 3 years, the day comes where it's over. And sadly, in our business, there are a lot of people in our business who theoretically do the same job that I do, or that we do even at Vanguard, but their whole approach is very different. It's not about doing what we can to add value, doing what we can to empower our clients, doing what we can to protect them and prepare them for the inevitability of the end of their careers. It's about transactional. It's being transactional. It's how much money can we make off the backs of these guys? And when their careers are over, we kick them aside, right? That is something I've witnessed way too often, and it turns my stomach, and it still does. And I just think that it's sad that even today, every year, we see athletes whose careers are dramatically altered, if not cratered, by things that have nothing to do with their ability to play the game and everything to do with the choices they made, the reactions to an obstacle or adversity they had, the people they chose to be around them, and how those things interplay with one another and then dramatically impact their ability to continue to have a productive and lucrative career. Their careers end for reasons that have nothing to do with their talent and everything to do with things that could have been avoided. That's
You and I were talking earlier, Joby, about some divergent paths of players even drafted in the same draft at the same position. Can we share this and talk about that on the show? Because I think it's poignant to talk about how paths can be divergent based on who you surround yourself with and based on what kind of advice you get.
Yeah, I mean, I there's a part of me that hesitates to be so specific, but I'm going to be, because I think it's relevant, and because I honestly have a great deal of respect for the person I'm going to also mention. But Most people don't remember when Von Miller was drafted in 2011. He ended up being the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And in that same draft class, there was another another edge rushing linebacker, was extremely talented, went a few picks after him to the 49ers, Aldon Smith. And most people don't remember their rookie years, Aldon Smith had more sacks than Vaughn. Their second year, Aldon Smith had more sacks than Vaughn. Their third year, they both got suspended from the NFL for repeated substance abuse violations, which were primarily using marijuana, which has now been almost decriminalized even in the NFL. But back then it was a pretty big deal. And so they both faced suspensions. And that's where both of their careers went in completely opposite directions. I know that what we did was we surrounded Vaughn with the people and the tools and the resources to do a 180. And to his credit, he embraced that. And 3 years later, he's the MVP of the Super Bowl, going into a contract negotiation, which ultimately made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL, with the biggest guarantee of anybody other than one other player, Andrew Luck, that same year. His contract was $114.5 million. And at that point, I think Aldon Smith was out of the league or barely hanging on. 6 years later, when he gets to the end of that contract, he had been injured, arrested, suspended, traded, but won another Super Bowl with another team, signed another contract for $120 million. And, he's on pace. If he finishes out his contract, he will have made over $250 million playing football. And Aldon Smith, unfortunately, just got out of prison. And I say this not to disparage Aldon Smith, because what really struck home for me was Aldon, I think, was on Brandon Marshall's podcast. And he acknowledged, he said, I was so young when I got to the league and I just didn't have the people around me. I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't make good choices. And to his credit, he owned what happened, but it shouldn't have happened. He was too good a guy, too good a human being. And Vaughn was a lot like him. The difference was who they had around them, and the fact that Vaughn embraced what was provided to him. And he bounced from one side of the lane to the other, but never went into the gutter and still headed towards the pins. That's what we aim to do. And with my own children, my own boys, it's like, I just want to have the guardrails up. I know they're going to go from one side of the lane to the other. Just keep them out of the gutter and keep them headed toward the pins. That's the best we can do as parents. That's the best we can do as advisors. And I feel like our job is that of a quality mentor, a quality coach, right? A great coach can make a good player look great. A bad coach can make a great player look bad. But no coach can coach somebody who doesn't want to be coached. You can't teach somebody who doesn't want to be in class. So for us, it's about finding relationships, families, and athletes who embrace what it is we're trying to provide them, which is the support and the resources and the guidance, so that they can have the cheat codes on how to get through the professional career with as much return as possible. Because, as I said earlier, the career is going to end. They take your helmet away and it's over. And to not prepare for that is tragic.
Yeah, one of the things that keeps bringing me back to involvement with people that have a platform is that, in an effort to celebrate those that are making a difference, that have a platform, that are celebrities, or that have a big profile, inevitably you can exponentially affect the rest of the world, because people are inspired by these individuals. And if we collectively as a society can embrace the people that are doing those positive things and lift them up and show them for who they are, I think that creates an exponential effect on the greater good. With that in mind, you've highlighted the importance of athletes understanding their roles as role models and giving back to the communities that shape them. Can you share a few specific examples of how you've guided clients in that regard?
Sure. I'd like to start with the genesis of it, though, because I can't take credit for it. I ended up going to law school and business school and becoming an entertainment lawyer first. That was my first real professional life. And I remember a friend of mine would introduce me to people. This is my friend Joby, is a lawyer. And I said, please don't introduce me to people as a lawyer. Right. Then I became a sports agent. And the same person did that one day. And I said, whatever you do, do not introduce me to people as a sports agent. Tell them I'm a lawyer. But the opportunity to become a sports agent sort of presented itself to me. And I gravitated to this profession now 29 plus years ago, because I was attracted to what the icon Lee Steinberg had built back then. Lee, one of the things he espoused was the importance of giving back to the communities that shape you, right? And I said, you know what? If I'm going to be a sports agent, that's the kind of sports agent I want to be. So I was inspired by Lee Steinberg, and I still am, by a lot of the things that he emphasized. I embraced it. And so as I've gone forward, I helped co-found a very big agency that I left 10 years ago to start this, because I didn't want to be part of a big agency. And a big part of what we do still is make sure our clients understand, again, the importance of giving back to the communities that helped shape them, that impacted them. And it doesn't have to be necessarily giving back to a particular community. It's just doing something good with the profile, the platform, the resources that you have, but doing it in a way that's authentic to you. Right? Because don't do it just because somebody tells you go give money to this thing, because you won't be behind it. A great example of this, and I'm probably go back to Vaughn several times because he's had such a long career. But when I first met Vaughn, he when he was a junior, still at Texas A&M, deciding whether to enter the draft or not, and he decided to stay in. But he came into the room. I was at his parents' office. He walked in the room. He had these big thick black glasses on. And I looked at him, I said, bro, I said, are those for real? He's like, yeah, I'm blind. And he handed me the glasses, and I looked at him, oh my God, you are literally blind. He said, I'm legally blind. He said, but I'm gonna get LASIK as soon as I get to the NFL. I said, man, look, I don't know if I'll have the honor of down the road being able to represent you, but promise me this, don't get rid of the glasses. Let those be part of who you are, your brand, because they're real. And it was at that point he told me that the reason he was wearing the glasses, and he'd always worn them, even though they weren't cool, was because he needed them to see the boards in school, right? So long story short, we get a couple, 3 years into his career, and it's like he decides he wants to do something now with a charity endeavor. And, he came up with the concept of Vaughn's Vision, right? Which is a foundation that has now is devoted to giving eyewear and eye care to kids in need, and making it cool to wear glasses, right? So
how cool is that?
And he's helped countless thousands of kids. It started in Denver. It grew all the way to College Station in Dallas, and now he's in Buffalo, again, impacting all these kids. He has an eyewear deal where he's, actually developing the eyewear, and it's authentically him, and it's impacting so many others, but it redounds back to him so that he gets the personal joy of seeing how he can impact others given the platform he was blessed to have, right? And that's what you look for. And we've got numerous examples of guys who have done that. That just happens to be the easiest to sort of tie together. And we love doing that. We make no money, by the way. There's a lot of things that agents do. The only thing the agents really make money on are negotiating contracts. But we do a lot of other things to, again, be impactful for our clients. And we want our clients to understand the kind of impact they can have. I see myself as a mentor, and I want to impact. I've always been a mentor in my life. I love the fact that I can help Vaughn Miller be in a position where he can impact tens of thousands more people than I can. So my contribution is to make sure that he, redoubles the results of doing good. He can do more good than I can by myself, but I can help him do good. I can help a lot of our clients. That's how we all feel at Vanguard. We're locked and loaded into being there for our guys and helping them, have the kinds of impacts they want to have out there in the real world.
I mean, you brought it up. You really focus on every aspect of a client's career, regardless of whether you're getting paid for it or not. And I mean, that's a rare quality. But what strategies do you employ to assist athletes in securing their financial futures for themselves and their families?
Well, it's funny. My very first recruited client was Amon Green, running back out of Nebraska, who you know. In fact, we
I know him well.
around that same time. And he came out as a junior, ended up being a third-round pick. Most people forget the Seattle Seahawks before he got traded and ultimately went to the Green Bay Packers. But
Yeah, he was actually with the Seahawks when I met him.
yeah,
Because I met him after he got drafted, and
yep.
we hit it off. And you were kind enough to make that introduction, but it was great.
So I was like,
He and I have been friends ever since then.
right. Well, he, I guess, I was in my second or third year of the industry, and had already experienced the world of financial advisors, and it was pretty seedy, to be honest. I mean, I didn't even know it existed. I thought agents were bad. Financial advisors could be equally, if not more so, bad. They can be ruinous of players' careers. Our job is to help clients make money. Their job is to help them manage and keep their money, and hopefully have their money make money. But sadly, these young kids, they don't know what they don't know, and they end up blindly trusting people, and sometimes get caught up with the wrong people who have the wrong motives, who bilk them of sometimes their entire bank account. I mean, and so one of the first people I remember, Amon Green said, "Hey, I got this financial advisor and I want to get this card done over here." But I said, "Whoa, you got a financial advisor?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you sign an agreement with him?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Can you please send me the agreement? Remember we talked about don't sign anything without us getting a chance to see what you're signing." "Oh yeah, my bad." So he sends this thing over. And this guy had advanced a bunch of money to him, but had also had an agreement where he was like going to get 10% of all of his money on and off the field forever. Immediately, I called a couple friends of mine who were lawyers, and we got him out of the agreement. Long story short, 3 years later, I remember calling him on. At this point, he's in Green Bay. I said, "Hey, man, do you remember this guy?" And I told him the name, and he said, "Why do I know that name?" He said, "That was your first financial advisor. He's going to prison for having taken millions for committing wire fraud, tax fraud, et cetera, from other professional athletes." Right? And sadly, there are so many of these cases out there.
Yeah.
I learned early in my career that I have a law degree and an MBA. I know just enough to be dangerous, but I'm not in a position to manage anyone's money. That's not my job. But what we can do is protect our clients better than a lot of other people can because of the relationship we have from those folks. And so, I read where I think it was Tim Duncan had lost $20-some million to his financial advisor. And then Kevin Garnett came to the guy's defense because he also was a client of his. And then a couple of years later, he's suing the guy for having lost $70 million of his money.
Yeah,
right?
there's so many examples that
That guy's in prison now, right? And so what I've learned over the years is that rarely do these things happen because of a one-off transaction that goes sideways. It happens because you get into a relationship where somebody gets control of your money. They now manage all of your accounts, and they get you to sign documents that allows them to have access that they shouldn't have. And they basically have drilled all these holes in your boat, right? And you don't know because there's nobody overseeing anything. So what I've done, and I did this when I first started Vanguard, was I've since retained an outside group whose job it is to oversee the selection process of your financial advisor to make sure they are who they say they are. Right? Because finding agents is easy. You find people who are certified through the NFLPA. That's not the case with financial advisors. Anybody can come up off the street and say they're a financial advisor. They oversee that. They oversee the implementation of the people that you ultimately choose. And they will periodically do an audit to make sure that these people are doing with your money what they said they were going to do with your money. Because that's all it really takes to find out if there's a hole in your boat. Right? If that had happened with Tim Duncan 5 years earlier, he might have lost $200,000, not $20 million.
It's just a little bit of oversight goes a long way.
And as far as I know, we were the first, I know, and we may still be the only agency that pays for that service for our clients because that's something that our clients should have. that level of protection for their finances going forward. We're not here to advise you about your money. We can give you some basic things about how not to blow your money, but the bottom line is you need a financial team, and that financial team should be a separate fiduciary whose obligation is to you, not to us, but ours is to you, not to them. And we can check and balance one another. And it has worked really well for us, especially with the clients who have taken advantage of it. They can sleep at night knowing that, okay, my money's where it's supposed to be and my people are doing a decent job. Right?
Yeah, that's always fantastic to
Most
hear.
agents
Because
don't do that. You know why? Because they don't make money off that. We don't make money off of it either, but it's what I think is valuable. It's adding value to our representation.
I mean, it goes back to the way I introduced you, and there's nobody more genuine that I know about your intentions than you. And I can safely say that over the course of I can't even count the years because we've been friends for so long, but it really is true. And I try to surround myself with those same kind of people. And I've been fortunate enough to associate myself with you all these years. So it's nice to see that that's continuing to play out and that your clients are benefiting from those infrastructure pieces that you put in place.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. There are a series of other things that we do that are unique, I think, in the space. Everybody pays for guys to train for the draft, which is sort of necessary now in order. You can't represent players unless you're at least willing to do that. But we're the only agency I know that commits for all of our clients to pay for their training in year 2, in year 3, until they get to their second contract, which really is the holy grail. Right? It is. Even Von Miller, who went number 2, signed a 4-year deal for $20 million with a 5th-year option. It was another 9, so that's 5 years, $29 million. His next contract was $114.5 million. And then his next contract was $120 million. All of a sudden, that $29 million from his rookie deal looks like nothing. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of our clients. It's a 4th-round pick. Over the first 3 years, he made about $4 million. And then we just did a contract extension for him at $30 million per year going forward. Right? That's $120 million. That first contract changes your life. The second contract can be generational wealth.
That's right.
And again, it's not money for the sake of money. I try to emphasize to these guys, we don't want to help you make money so you can just buy as many Lamborghinis and beach houses as you can. We want you to have the financial foundation so that whenever your career ends, you then get to dictate what you do next with the rest of it. If you want to go coach high school football and not take a salary, you can, because you got so much out of your career. And you have that financial foundation to live life on your terms, which is the American dream, to wake up and do what you want to do, as opposed to now trying to figure out how am I going to make ends meet now that I'm done playing football and I lost everything. Right?
That was going to be my next question. I mean, how do you balance the pursuit of lucrative contracts with the importance of personal values and long-term goals for your clients?
Well, it's just an ongoing mantra. We also do something else that no other firm that I'm aware of does. We in someone that I think you're aware of is who I met my second year in the business, just before you, or right around the same time actually, is the PhD psychologist who specializes in guiding and counseling athletes, professional athletes and entertainers and CEOs, to be honest, on the unique stressors that they encounter because of who they are. I've watched him save careers. I've watched him save families because he has a PhD. I learned early that there are some things that are above my pay grade. I can only do so much as with my own background and my own life. I don't have a PhD in psychology. So I refer to it as a performance coach. Right, because at its minimal, he can help athletes learn how to lock in and perform when they need to perform, because it is a business when you become a pro. These NFL teams, these NBA teams, the truth of the matter is they may talk about, oh, we're a family, and bottom line is they want to know that you're going to perform when you need to perform and that they can count on you to perform. Mm-hmm. As long as you check those boxes, they're going to pay you a lot of money. The minute that becomes suspect, they don't care why you're struggling. Whatever's happening in your personal life, it cannot negatively impact your performance. If it does, they don't care. Generally,
it's not their problem.
There are plenty of good people that work for these NBA teams, these NFL teams. But as institutions, they are built to win and make money. And if you're not helping them win, they're going to move on from you. That's
especially
just
in the NFL where the contracts aren't guaranteed.
Yeah, well, exactly right. I mean, and honestly, well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on the structures of contracts from different places, but you're generally right. I mean, it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's guaranteed
the
money.
Career spans are short. The bottom line is the expectation is you've got to show up and perform on a consistent basis in order to have a long-term career, right?
Yeah,
and in the NFL, a long-term career in our mind is being able to get to a second contract that is substantial. And if you're Von Miller or, hopefully Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, got to third contracts that are, incredibly valuable too. But in order to get there, there are so many things you need to navigate, again, that have very little to do with your preparation or your health, or it has everything to do with how to make sure that you can perform when you need to perform because you're not distracted by this, that, or the other thing. That could be family related, could be girlfriend related, could be any number of things. And that's where someone who's a PhD in psychology can help you manage your stressors in a way that it becomes productive, not counterproductive. Right. And I've learned that, heck, I talk probably 4 times a week. And at least one of those times I'm talking to him about me. So, someone like that in your life and someone like that on your team, your professional team, is invaluable. We've been good friends. He's worked with my clients since 1999. And once I had my own firm, I had him working with all of our clients at different levels, depending on what the needs were. But it's an asset that no other agency has right there at their disposal, to hopefully help, navigate through the minefield that is being a pro athlete.
Yeah.